Andy, and I'm here to help you live your best life. So let's dive right into today's topic. Today, we're going to talk about how to 5 things you can do to help you heal your relationship with food. Like many of you, I had a very toxic relationship with food. It controlled me, I controlled it. It was something that was always a constant struggle in my life. And I decided that I was done. I was done having this toxic, I'm going to restrict you, I'm going to stop you, and then you're going to control me, and it just was out of control. So I decided that I was going to work hard to heal my relationship with food, because just like all things in our lives, everything boils down to it being a relationship. We have a relationship with money, we have a relationship with our bodies, we have a relationship with food, and of course we have our personal relationships with those around us. But food's kind of a tricky one. The 2 trickiest, actually it's the 3 trickiest relationship is our relationship with our body, our relationship with food, and of course that relationship with money, but we'll talk about that later. Today we're going to talk about that relationship with food. So with food, your first assignment or your number 1 tip is I want you to take a week and I want you just to observe your week with food. So get a journal, just any type of place that you can take notes. And you're just going to take a step back, no judgment, just observe. So every time you eat, I want to know what time you ate, what you ate, how you were feeling when you ate, and anything that you want to write down in regards to that meal. So you're going to do that for about a week. So I want you to just totally no judgment, just kind of like, back in high school when you'd have to do like science experiments and you'd have to observe everything about the situation and then you would form a hypothesis, right? So that's what you're going to be doing. You're going to go through and you're going to just observe how you eat and what you eat, how you're feeling when you eat, anything that you want to observe with your relationship with food for a week. So once you've done that, once you kind of have taken a step back, become the observer of this relationship with food, you're going to be able to get in there. And now you've got a whole week's data. Now here, another thing that I want you to remember is you don't have to be a Girl Scout. You don't have to be a Boy Scout on this. I don't want you to be like, oh, I have this perfect, and like all of a sudden you're dieting and you're making all these things that are not necessarily your true baseline. So I want you to eat like how you normally eat. Don't like start a diet or do anything crazy or different than what you normally, the majority of your life do. So that will give us really raw data of what your real relationship looks like with food. So this is not a time to like, oh, I'm going to eat totally clean this week because I'm writing it down, I'm journaling. No, I want you to start with your true baseline and we'll go from there. So once you've had this true week of like what a real week of eating looks like for you, how many times, what time you eat, your feelings for the food. And now we get in and we've got all this nice juicy data. So once we have that data, I want you to look, again, step back. You're the observer here. There's no judgment. This is just pure data. We're being scientific, we're being logical and analytical here. So I want you to look at all this data and I want you to ask questions and be curious. So let's say like every day around 3 o'clock, you get really tired and you start to you notice that you're reaching for sugary snacks around 3. So that's something that's curious and that's a trend that you've seen. Or you'll notice all kinds of other trends when you're doing this data release. Okay. And just start really get curious. Find out where those weak points are, where you're struggling, and just write down these things. Find any trends that you noticed over the week of just reviewing your diet as an observer. No judgment. And you're going to find out that there's certain things that trigger you. And it's going to be different for everybody. For me, I tend to overeat when I'm feeling stressed or so a big one for me is stress. And that can be emotional stress. That can be like there's just so much going on in the world, or I have so much energy in my body because I've taken it on from other people. You empaths might know a little bit more about this, and we can dive into that. That's a whole nother topic. But when I have a whole lot of emotion going on within my body, where that's anxiety, stress, food is something I have used in the past to ground myself, to kind of get back into my body and to like kind of anchor me down. So one thing I've noticed is when I start to feel that anxious and I reach for food as my grounding mechanism, I can now stop myself and be like, okay, you're not really hungry. You're just trying to get grounded, and you're using that tool to ground yourself. So what are some other tools I can use? I can go for a walk. I can do some yoga, or I can like be, okay, maybe I really am hungry and I do need to ground. So let maybe pick something that is going to help me to one, ground, because that's important. And number two, pick something that's going to also provide some medicine, because food is medicine, right? Pick a food that might be a healthier choice than my normal go-tos. So those are some things that you can start to see and realize these things. Or maybe it's like you have a really toxic relationship with a friend in your life, and you notice every time you talk to that person on the phone, it triggers you and you want to eat, to fill that kind of icky, toxic feeling in your life. Or maybe it's somebody at work, or maybe it's a relative that triggers you. These are all things to write down and realize. And then once you know, you know, right? Once you know what's triggering you, then you can do something about it. So it's just really getting that data and becoming very crystal clear with what these triggers are. What are these things that kind of cause you to have that behavior, or you overeat, or you kind of need that grounding, and food fills the bill for you. So those are the things. Okay, so now that you've had this whole week of review and you kind of have analyzed your data and got really curious and asked questions, you're gonna have a better idea of what your relationship with food looks like. So what I want you to do next, this may sound really weird, but I want you to write a letter to food, to your relationship with food, to be more specific. And in that letter, I want you to really write out exactly how you feel about food. And you might be surprised by some of these feelings that come up when you write this letter. I did the same thing with my relationship with money too. And you're gonna see things that you might not see without this format. So just, again, clear your mind. It might be good to like really meditate before you write this letter, and just write and let the words flow. Don't worry about punctuation, grammar. There's no police here. You're just writing what comes up. And you might be surprised what comes up. Maybe you have some deep-seated toxic beliefs about food, or some beliefs about yourself that cause you to react with food. Especially if you're a chronic dieter, or you grew up in a home where there was a big, huge diet mentality. These things might come up when you're writing this letter. So for me, I grew up where, bless my mom's heart, she was on diets all the time. And so I grew up, and as I became an adult, I was constantly on a diet. I was always in this ebb and flow of restriction, lose the weight, and then I would go back to binging and having little control over food, because I had restricted it for so long that it then catapulted into out of control. And this was the flow of my life. And then I realized what that was doing with that relationship with food is, as I would control it, restrict, and then that would cause me to go into an out of balance, where I would go into binging. And just like, instead of eating a brownie and really enjoying it and being joyful and enjoying that moment, I would like be out of control, and I would eat half a pan, and I had no control. So once I started to heal this relationship with food and found these triggers that caused me to get to that place, and started to kind of try to understand these beliefs I had about food that would cause these behaviors. And that's when I was really able to see that, like, this, I'm not going to restrict you anymore, food. I'm not going to control you, and I'm not going to let you control me. We're friends. Like, Guys, we need food. Food is super important. So you're gonna need food. You gotta heal this relationship with food, and you're gonna want it to be a good relationship. So know that food is medicine. And yes, it's absolutely fun to have foods that are fun and be joyful. And you should enjoy all the foods. There should be, unless you obviously have a allergy or an intolerance, there should be no food that you cut out. But there also is balance. Like when you really tune into your body and you get to know your body and what it needs, it's not gonna tell you it wants sugar and nachos and crap. It's really going to be like, you know what? I really need some green juice today. I really need some, you know, like it really like, it's not going to tell you crap. It's going to tell you nutrition food. And you'll feel like, okay, I need yellow foods, or I need, like, I really want a banana, or I really want some broccoli. Like whatever it is, when you really get in, you'll get to know, like sometimes I just feel like I need some nuts. There's something in it that my body needs and it craves. Or for a while, I really could not get enough cranberries. So there was probably something in cranberries that my body needed, and I went with it. So really kind of diving in and true body love. This is one thing that I have a hard time with when it comes to the body love movement. Yes, love your body, love every bit of it, but at the same time, it doesn't mean like eat whatever the heck you want. It means have balance, have fun with food. Food should be fun. You should have fun, but also really giving your body, because you love it, the food that will nourish it, that will give it energy, that will help heal it and take care of it, eating those delicious foods that are good for it. So there's this balance. But like I said, when you come from a place of love instead of hate, instead of all these negative emotions that we have with dieting and eating and food, all those things are gone. It really comes down to taking care of yourself. You wouldn't allow your child to eat sugar all day long and crap. You're trying to get the veggies into. You're trying to get the good, healthy food because you want your child to thrive. That's what you need to do for yourself. Okay, so those are kind of my tips. They're kind of, that was a little all over the place, but I promise if you go ahead and you observe, that's number one. Observe just for a week, no judgment, get curious, ask questions, really see what those things are, find your triggers. Super important. Then write that letter. Write that letter. And then number 5, the most important, just let it go. All those pains, all those hurts, all those things that you have that are tied to your relationship with food, let it go. Heal and allow yourself to have the freedom to enjoy food, to love it, to have those fun things, but also know that to have a truly healthy relationship food, you need to pick foods that nourish you and take care of you, because guess what? You're worth it. And that was a big wake-up call for me, is that I was worth it. I was worth buying the expensive organic foods, or even not even necessarily all the organic foods, but like making my health and my wellness a priority because I was worth it, and because I love myself and I wanted my body to flourish and to thrive and have more energy and more health and more vitality. And that came with this relationship with food. And that started with that healing, truly getting in and healing my relationship with food and finding those toxic habits and those toxic things that had held me back for so long. So those are my tips for you for today. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this video. And once again, I would absolutely, if this video served you and you found value in it, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to build this channel up, and every little comment, every little like helps, and I'm so grateful and I'm so thankful for you. Have the best day ever, and remember, you live your best life when you choose to live your best life.